my grandmother's journal, she mentions...
Oh, read it.
Yes, please read it to us. I'm trying to find the place. Just be patient.
Certainly. Excuse me. Winston.
Here it is. We set out early that morning to inspect the ruins of the Acropolis. I know I shall never forget how extraordinarily pure the atmosphere was that morning. It seemed as though the world were not very old, but very, very young, almost as though the world had been newly created. There was a taste of earliness in the air, a feeling of freshness, exhilarating my senses, exalting my spirit. How shall I tell you, dear diary, the way the sky looked? It was almost as though I had moistened the tip of my pen in a shallow bowl of milk. So delicate was the blue of the dome of the heavens. The sun was barely up yet. A tentative breeze disturbed the ends of my scarf. The plumes of the marvelous hat which I had bought in Paris and thrilled me with pride whenever I saw them reflected. The papers that morning, we had read them over our coffee before we left the hotel, had spoken of possible war, but it seemed unlikely, unreal. Nothing was real indeed, but the spell of golden antiquity and rose-colored romance that breathed from this fabulous
No, skip that part. Get on to where she meets him.
Out of the tongues of ancients, the lyrical voices of many long-ago poets who dreamed of the world of ideals, who had in their hearts the pure and absolute image.
No, skip that part. Get on to...
Yes! Here, let us do manage without any more interruptions. The carriage came to a halt at the foot of the hill, and my aunt, not being too well,
She had a sore throat that morning.
preferred to remain in the carriage with the driver while I undertook the rather steep climb on foot. As I ascended the long and crumbling flight of old stone steps.
Yes, that's the place. Go on, Ariadne.
I could not help observing continually above me a man who walked with a barely perceptible limp.
Yes, Lord Byron.
And, as he turned now and then to observe beneath him the lovely panorama,
Actually, he was watching the girl behind him.
will you please let me finish? I was irresistibly impressed by the unusual nobility and refinement of his features,
The handsomest man that ever walked the earth.
the strength and grace of his throat, like that of a statue, the classic outlines of his profile, the sensitive lips and slightly dilated nostrils, the dark lock of hair that fell over his forehead in such a way that...
Oh, skip that part. It goes on for pages.
When he had reached the very summit of the Acropolis, he spread out his arms like in a great magnificent gesture, like a young god. Now I thought to myself, Apollo has come to earth in modern dress.
Yes, that's the part.
Fearing to interrupt his poetic trance, I slackened my pace and pretended to watch the view. I kept my look thus carefully averted until the narrowness of the steps compelled me to move close by him. Then I finally faced him.
Yes.
Our eyes came together. A thing which I don't understand had occurred between us. A flush of recognition swept through my whole being, suffused through my...
Yes, that's the part.
Pardon me, he exclaimed. You have dropped his love. And indeed, to my surprise, I found what I had. And as he returned it to me, his fingers ever so slightly pressed the cups of my palm.
Yes.
Believe me, dear diary, I became quite faint and breathless. I almost wondered if I could continue my lonely walk through ruins. Perhaps I stumbled. Perhaps I swayed a little. I leaned for a moment against the side of the column. The sun seemed terribly brilliant. It hurt my eyes. Close behind me, I heard that voice again. Almost it seemed I could feel his breath come on me.
You can stop there, Ariadne. That will be quite enough. Oh, is that all? There's a great deal more that is not to be read to people.
I'm sorry. I can show you better now. If...
Oh, yes, that'd be lovely. Watch out, Ariadne. That woman can open the letter.
I'm sorry. The contents of the letter are strictly private. Here, I'll hold it up at a distance so that you can see the writing.
Not too close. She's holding up her glasses.
Only a short while later, Lord Byron was killed.
How did he die? He was killed in action, fighting for freedom.
Yes. When my grandmother heard the news of Lord Byron's death, she retired from the world and remained in complete seclusion for the rest of her life.
How dreadful. I think that was foolish of her.
Oh, you don't understand. It's like a sonnet. When a life is completed, it ought to be put away. And in a sonnet, when you've written the final couple, Wednesday.
We adore it, truly.
It's called enchantment.
Oh.
Une saison enchantée amused, beguiled seemed time herself, her erstwhile errant ways briefly forgotten. She stayed and smiled, caught in the net of blue and golden days.
Blue and golden is your days.
Caught in a net of gold and azure days. But I lacked wit to see how light the shoe, the time of you to vagrancy so used. But by the touch of one October moon, from summer's tranquil spell might be loosed. Think you love is writ on my soul with chalk, to be washed away by a few parting tears. Then you know not with what slow steps I walk, the barren way of those hibernal years. My life a vanished interlude, a shell, whose walls are your last kiss and last farewell.
What's that? What's that? The parade?
Come on, Molly. What is this? You usually accept to understand it's not like money. Just anything you have to decision to spare.
He's going outside.
Please, $1.
50 cents.
Or a quarter. Winston! Winston! Oh my goodness, it disappeared to the ground! Winston! Winston! Oh, he's off again. You should understand. We usually accept a small sum of money for the display of the letter. Anything you think you can spare, it's all we have to live on.
No.
50 cents! A quarter! Winston! Winston! Oh,
Have a day. Goodbye.
Kanye! Kanye!
Run without paying. Cheated us.
Yes! Kanye!
Where are they, my letter?